This video is about Odysseus Fightsc monster, but ship Damages. If this myth excites you, please like the video, share it with friends, and write in the comments how it pulled you into the adventure. In the age when gods walked among men, the sea reigned as both a giver and taker of life, a treacherous expanse that whispered secrets of destiny to those brave enough to sail its tumultuous waves. Among these fearless souls was Odysseus, a cunning king of Ithaca, renowned for his intellect and valor. His journey was etched in the annals of time, a tale of adventure, sacrifice, and the relentless pursuit of home. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a crimson hue over the Aegean Sea, Odysseus gathered his weary crew upon the weathered deck of the Nostro's asterisk. They had braved the Cyclopes, outsmarted the Sirens, and navigated through the treachery of Scylla and Charybdis. Yet their greatest challenge was yet to come, the monstrous scourge of the depths, a leviathan known as Thalassin, whose very name sent shivers through the bravest of hearts. "Gather round, men," Odysseus bellowed, his voice carrying over the crashing waves. "We stand upon the precipice of destiny. The gods have tested our mettle, but we shall not falter. With courage as our shield and honor as our sword, we will face Thalassin." His words ignited a flicker of hope in the eyes of his men, weary from their relentless journey. Each sailor bore scars from battles past, their spirits flickering like the dying embers of a fire. Among them stood Telemachus, Odysseus's son, still young yet forged in the flames of adversity. He had journeyed with his father, learning the ways of a warrior and the burdens of leadership. "Father," Telemachus spoke, his youthful voice steady, "what if the gods turn their backs on us? What if we fall before the beast?" The warriors murmured, their expressions clouded with doubt. Odysseus approached his son, placing a firm hand on his shoulder. "Fear not, my son. The gods may test us, but they also watch over the brave. Together, we shall weave our fate into the fabric of legend." As night fell, the sea churned, a dark tempest brewing in the distance. Lightning split the sky, illuminating the waves that roared like ancient beasts. The crew hastened to prepare the ship, their hearts pounding in sync with the thunder. "Steady the oars," Odysseus commanded, his gaze fixed on the horizon where the storm raged. The Nostros creaked, her wooden frame groaning under the weight of the impending confrontation. Just as they steadied their resolve, a haunting wail echoed through the night, a sound that chilled the bones of even the most hardened sailors. "It's Thalassin," one of the crewmen shouted, eyes wide with terror. "Prepare the weapons." In an instant, the sea erupted as the colossal form of Thalassin breached the surface, scales shimmering like obsidian under the lightning. Its massive tentacles writhed with unholy grace, each one capable of sinking entire fleets. The beast's roar resonated like a tempest, drowning out the frantic prayers of the crew. "Steady yourselves," Odysseus shouted, adrenaline coursing through his veins. "Aim for its eyes, strike true, and we may yet survive this night." With a flick of his wrist, he drew his sword, its blade glinting with divine fury. Telemachus, standing at his side, grasped a spear, a mix of fear and determination etched on his face. "For Ithaca," they cried, their voices rising above the chaos. As the first wave crashed against the ship, the Nostros lurched violently, tossed like a feather in the grip of an unrelenting hand. The crew fought to maintain their footing, but the storm raged, blurring vision and stealing breath. Odysseus barked commands, rallying his men against the onslaught of water and fury. With a thunderous roar, Thalassin launched its massive tentacles towards the Nostro's asterisk, each strike a cataclysmic force. The first tentacle struck the ship's hull, splintering wood and sending sailors tumbling into the churning sea. "Hold fast," Odysseus cried, his heart racing as he swung his sword at the beast's advancing limbs. The crew fought valiantly, spears piercing the creature's flesh, yet it seemed impervious to pain. "Aim for its heart," Odysseus shouted, his voice a rallying cry. "We must strike deep." Telemachus, fueled by a fierce determination, launched his spear with precision, the weapon sailing through the air before embedding itself into one of Thalassin's eyes. The creature thrashed in agony, its roar shaking the heavens. "Now strike," Odysseus commanded, seizing the moment. The crew surged forward, a tide of courage against the monstrous beast. Swords flashed, spears flew, and the deck of the Nostros became a battleground, a clash of wills against the primal forces of nature. But amidst the chaos, the storm intensified, conjured by the wrath of the gods. The sky darkened and the winds howled like vengeful spirits. A bolt of lightning struck the Nostro's asterisk, igniting the sails in a blaze of fire. The ship, already battered and torn, began to sink beneath the onslaught of water and fury. "Father, the ship!" Telemachus cried, gripping the railing as he fought against the deluge. "We must abandon her." "Never," Odysseus shouted, determination blazing in his eyes. "We fight for our lives, for our honor." With a final, desperate push, the crew pressed toward Thalasson, their blades gleaming with determination. Telemachus, resolute, drew another spear, his arm steady even as the ship swayed beneath him. "For Ithaca!" he roared, launching the spear into the creature's remaining eye. Thalasson let out a deafening roar, thrashing wildly, its blood mingling with the sea as it writhed in pain. But the Nostros was not without its own wounds. The ship creaked ominously, water surging over the deck, dragging down the weary sailors. "Retreat!" Odysseus commanded, realizing their struggle was futile against the tempest and the beast combined. "To the lifeboats!" Yet fate had other designs. Just as they turned to flee, Thalasson, blinded by rage, unleashed a final fury. A massive tentacle swept through the air, crashing into the asterisk Nostros with a force that splintered the ship into fragments. Wood and men were thrown into the abyss, swallowed by the merciless sea. Odysseus found himself submerged, thrust into a world of darkness and chaos. He fought against the current, grasping for the light, for his son, for survival. Panic surged through him as he struggled, but an unwavering resolve kept his heart beating. Emerging from the depths, he gasped for breath, searching for the familiar forms of his crew. The storm continued its rage, the cries of the fallen mingling with the roar of the waves. "Telemachus!" he shouted, his voice lost in the cacophony of water and wind. Finally, amidst the chaos, he caught sight of Telemachus, clinging to a piece of driftwood, his eyes wide with fear but unyielding. "Father, help me!" he cried, the desperation in his voice striking Odysseus like a dagger. With a fierce determination, Odysseus swam through the swirling waters, every ounce of strength focused on reaching his son. "Hold on, my boy," he shouted, battling the waves that threatened to drag them both under. With a final surge, he reached Telemachus, grasping his hand and pulling him onto the makeshift raft. "We live, we fight for Ithaca," Odysseus declared, the fire of survival blazing in his heart. But as they drifted, the tempest began to wane, revealing the vast emptiness of the sea, a desolate battlefield where the remnants of their ship lay strewn across the waves. The ocean, once a home of adventure, had turned into a graveyard of dreams. "Father," Telemachus said, his voice trembling, "what now?" Odysseus, gazing at the horizon, felt the weight of destiny pressing upon them. "Now we persevere. We will not be defeated by despair. The gods may test us, but we shall rise again, a beacon of hope against the dark." And so, floating in the remnants of their shattered dreams, the bond between father and son grew stronger, forged in the fires of struggle and the depths of despair. Their journey was far from over. The world awaited them, a canvas of chaos and glory, and they would carve their legend into its heart. As dawn broke over the horizon, a new day dawned, full of uncertainty, adventure, and the promise of trials yet to come. They were not merely survivors. They were warriors bound by destiny, ready to reclaim their fate from the clutches of the abyss. Odysseus fights sea monster but ship damages. Part 2. As dawn's light pierced the storm's remnants, casting a golden hue across the unforgiving sea, Odysseus clung to the splintered remains of the Nostros asterisk, heart pounding with the echoes of recent chaos. Each cresting wave threatened to swallow them whole, Yet he felt the steady presence of Telemachus beside him, their connection unbroken amidst the turmoil. "Father, we must find land," Telemachus urged, his voice strained but resolute, as he scanned the horizon for any sign of safety. Odysseus tightened his grip on the driftwood and nodded. "Aye, my son, we shall not let Thalasson's wrath be our end. We are destined for greater things." With every ounce of willpower, he kicked against the waves, propelling them toward the distant outline of land that shimmered faintly in the early morning light. But even in calm waters, the gods were not finished with them. As they drifted, the omniscient eyes of Poseidon bore down and the god's anger thrummed in the air. "Foolish mortals," he bellowed from the depths, his voice weaving through the waves. "Think you can defy the ocean's will? You shall pay the price for your insolence." Suddenly the sea convulsed, rising in massive swells, threatening to engulf them once more. Odysseus, sensing the shift, shouted above the roar, "Hold on, Telemachus! Brace yourself!" He struggled to keep the makeshift raft steady, fighting the mounting waves that crashed around them like a vengeful army. Then, just as despair began to creep into the edges of their resolve, the silhouette of land emerged more distinctly, a rugged island crowned with jagged cliffs that soared into the sky. "There, we must reach it," Odysseus shouted, hope igniting within him. With renewed strength, he paddled fiercely towards the land, the current dragging them backwards, relentless. Telemachus, driven by determination, joined his father in the struggle, their bodies instinctively aligning as they fought against the tempest. As they neared the rocky shore, Odysseus caught a glimpse of movement among the cliffs, figures shifting like shadows against the sunlit stone. "Warriors!" he exclaimed, recognizing their stance and weapons. "We are not alone." Yet no sooner had they reached the shallows than a deafening crash echoed behind them as the leviathan Thalasson, defiant in its rage, shattered the surface. The creature bellowed, its fury unleashed upon the world, and the waves surged higher around them, threatening to drag them back into the depths. "Father, we cannot face it again," Telemachus screamed, pulling Odysseus towards the shore. "We must abandon the raft." "Do not lose hope," Odysseus shouted, dragging his son to the rocks, water splashing against their legs. "We shall find shelter and rally our strength." The shoreline was treacherous, strewn with sharp stones and thickets of thorny vegetation. They climbed, stumbling onto solid ground, panting as they turned to face the ocean that had become their battleground. Thalasson thrashed violently, sending waves crashing against the rocks, but Odysseus stood firm, his sword drawn, eyeing the creature with fierce resolve. With a roar that echoed across the island, the sea monster fixed its gaze upon the two figures, rage igniting its eyes. "You dare challenge me upon my domain, mortals. You shall rue the day you crossed me. We have survived your wrath," Odysseus shouted defiantly, raising his sword high. "We are not mere prey. We are warriors of Ithaca, forged in the fires of adversity." Telemachus, emboldened by his father's fierce spirit, stepped forward, spear in hand. "You will pay for the lives you claimed. We will not cower before you." With a mighty lunge, Thalasson surged forward, its tentacles crashing against the rocks, splintering stone and sending shards flying. Odysseus and Telemachus leaped aside, dodging the deadly appendages that threatened to end their lives. "Strike at its heart," Odysseus bellowed, his voice cutting through the chaos. "Aim true, my son." As Thalasson recoiled, Telemachus steadied his spear, breathing deeply. "For Ithaca!" He launched the spear with all his strength, and it soared through the air, finding a home in the monster's exposed underbelly. The creature writhed, shrieking in pain, the sound piercing the very fabric of the island. "You will pay for this, little warrior." It roared, fury boiling in its depths as it prepared to retaliate. But Odysseus would not yield. Summoning every ounce of his warrior spirit, he charged forward, his blade gleaming in the sun. "Together, Telemachus, we end this." As Thalasson lashed out, Odysseus ducked and rolled beneath its swinging tentacles, his blade singing through the air as he struck again and again at the creature's vulnerable flesh. Telemachus, bolstered by his father's bravery, followed closely, a whirlwind of determination and defiance. With a final, desperate gambit, Odysseus climbed onto a rock, gaining altitude. "Thalassin," he roared, his voice a battle cry. "Your reign of terror ends today." As the beast turned its massive head, confused, Odysseus leaped, plunging his sword deep into the creature's eye socket. The monster howled, a cacophony of fury and despair, collapsing into the depths, taking with it the wrath of the storm. But the victory was not without cost. The ground beneath them trembled and the cliffs began to crumble, a testament to the monstrous struggle. "We must escape," Odysseus shouted as stones rained down around them. They raced toward the interior of the island, weaving through dense underbrush and jagged rocks, their hearts pounding with the adrenaline of survival. At last, they found a narrow passageway, a cave hidden among the cliffs. Inside they collapsed, gasping for breath. The darkness enveloped them, a stark contrast to the chaos outside. "We did it, father," Telemachus murmured, the weight of their ordeal settling in. But at what cost? Odysseus placed a reassuring hand on his son's shoulder, his heart heavy with grief for those they had lost in the battle. "The cost of honor is steep, my boy," he replied, his voice firm yet tinged with sorrow. "But we live, and with life comes hope. We shall honor our fallen through our actions." As they rested, Odysseus's mind raced with thoughts of their next steps. They had escaped the monster's wrath, but the gods had witnessed their struggle. He could feel the weight of fate bearing down upon them. "We will need allies," he said, his resolve returning. "This island could be a refuge, but we must build defenses, fortify against the gods' vengeance." Telemachus nodded, determination rekindling in his eyes. "And we will not be alone. The spirits of our fallen comrades will guide us. We will forge their memory into our fight." Hours turned into days as they scoured the island, gathering resources, constructing shelters, and forging weapons from the remnants of driftwood and stone. The bond between father and son deepened, each challenge strengthening their resolve. It was during one such day, as the sun set in a blaze of orange and gold, that a ship appeared on the horizon, emerging from the mists, a vessel that shimmered with divine purpose. As it drew nearer, Odysseus felt a tremor of recognition. "The ship of Athena," he exclaimed, his heart leaping with hope. "The goddess of wisdom has come to aid us." The vessel anchored at the shore, and from it stepped a figure cloaked in shimmering robes, the very essence of grace and power. Athena's eyes, wise and knowing, fell upon Odysseus, a hint of approval in her gaze. "Brave son of Ithaca," she spoke, her voice resonating through the air. "You have faced great trials, but your journey is far from over. The gods have witnessed your resolve." With her guidance, Odysseus and Telemachus learned the ways of the island, the secrets of the tides, and the art of survival. They forged alliances with the spirits of the fallen, who whispered wisdom from the shadows, guiding their hands in battle. "Remember, my son," Odysseus said one evening, the stars twinkling like ancient spirits above them. "Destiny is forged through our choices. We shall not bow to despair, but rise to claim our fate." As the island thrummed with life, the bond between Odysseus and Telemachus transformed into a legacy. They became legends in their own right, warriors of light and shadow, preparing for the next divine challenge that awaited them on the horizon. And so, in the heart of their newfound home, amidst the ruins of their past, the tale of Odysseus and T. Odysseus fights sea monster but ship damages, Part 3. The days of toil passed, and under Athena's watch, Odysseus and Telemachus forged an existence upon the jagged shores of the island. With each sunrise came the promise of progress. Barricades of rock and wood rose around the encampment, a testament to their determination. But as night fell, the specter of Thalassin loomed heavy in their hearts. The memory of the beast's wrath still echoed in their minds, a haunting reminder of the chaos they had narrowly escaped. Around the flickering campfire, the shadows danced, and the crackling flames whispered tales of both courage and grief. "Father," Telemachus spoke, his voice heavy with contemplation, "what if the monster returns? What if it seeks vengeance for its fallen?" Odysseus, his gaze fixed on the distant waves, felt a pang of sorrow for the lives lost that night. "We shall not allow fear to dictate our actions, my son. We will stand vigilant, ready to confront whatever darkness arises." He paused, his voice steady yet tinged with the weight of their burden. "But we must learn from our past. We must seek allies among the island's secrets." As the stars blinked above them, Odysseus felt the stirring of something ancient in the air. "There are stories," he murmured, "of spirits bound to this land, guardians who once thrived in harmony with the sea. Then we shall find them," Telemachus declared, his youthful fervor igniting the embers of hope. "We will seek the spirits, for they may hold the key to our survival." The following dawn, with the sun rising like molten gold, father and son set out to explore the interior of the island. Thick foliage enveloped them, a tapestry of vivid greens and vibrant blooms, yet the air crackled with the unknown. Their hearts raced as they ventured deeper into the wilderness, every rustle echoing like a warning. "Stay close, Telemachus," Odysseus instructed, his hand resting on the hilt of his sword. "We know not what resides in these woods." As they traversed the winding paths, the atmosphere grew charged, laden with a sense of ancient magic that stirred the hairs on their arms. Suddenly, a flicker of movement caught Odysseus's keen eye, a figure cloaked in mist, ethereal and shimmering like the ocean's surface. "Who dares tread upon sacred ground?" The apparition intoned, its voice resonating with a primal depth. "Brave spirit, we seek your guidance." Odysseus stepped forward, heart hammering, his voice steady despite the awe that enveloped him. "Our journey led us here, and we wish to forge an alliance. We are Odysseus of Ithaca, and this is my son Telemachus." The spirit emerged fully, revealing a figure adorned with seashells and shimmering seaweed, the embodiment of the sea's majesty. "You come to my shores seeking strength, yet what have you to offer in return?" Telemachus stepped forward, emboldened by his father's example. "We have fought the beast that terrorized the ocean. We fought for our lives and the lives of those we lost. We seek to protect this land from further chaos." The spirit regarded them with piercing eyes that seemed to peer into their very souls. "Courage is not enough, young warrior. Sacrifice is the currency of the divine. What will you give to earn my aid?" Odysseus felt the weight of the moment, the gravity of their plight pressing down upon him. "We are willing to offer our loyalty, to guard this island and its secrets. We shall fight not only for ourselves, but for the spirits that dwell here." The spirit nodded slowly, considering their words. "Very well, brave son of Ithaca. I shall grant you my blessing, but heed my warning. The fury of Thalassen is not easily quelled. You will face the creature again, and it will not come alone." With a wave of a spectral hand, the spirit summoned shimmering orbs of light, swirling around Odysseus and Telemachus, filling them with visions of strength and purpose. "With my blessing, you will possess the wisdom to counteract the beast's fury. But remember, true power lies not just in might, but in unity." As the light faded, a sense of clarity settled upon them. "Thank you," Odysseus breathed, his heart swelling with gratitude. "We will honor your gift." Emerging from the grove, they returned to the campsite, determination etched upon their faces. Now armed with the spirit's blessing, they set about fortifying their encampment, preparing for the inevitable storm that would once again test their resolve. Days turned into weeks, and the island transformed under their diligent hands. They constructed defenses, utilizing sharpened stakes, barricades of stone, and traps woven from the island's rich vegetation. The bond between father and son deepened as they worked side by side, each challenge strengthening their resolve. But the tranquility was shattered one fateful evening as ominous clouds rolled in, casting an eerie shadow over the island. A rumble of thunder echoed in the distance, a sound that was both foreboding and familiar. "The gods are angry," Telemachus whispered, dread coiling within him as he clasped his spear. "Prepare yourself," Odysseus replied, his gaze fixed on the horizon. "Thalassen returns, and we must face it together." As the winds howled, the waves rose, and from the depths of the sea, Thalassin emerged, a monstrous silhouette that clawed its way into the stormy sky. Its scales reflected the fury of the tempest, glistening with vengeful power. The sea roared at its presence, and fury filled the air. The monster returns. Odysseus shouted, his heart racing. Stand ready. Telemachus stood beside his father, spear held firm, eyes blazing with the fire of their shared purpose. As the beast bellowed, sending sprays of seawater into the air, Odysseus raised his sword. This time, we fight with the spirits of the fallen by our side. With a deafening roar, Thalassin lunged, tentacles crashing against the fortified defenses of their encampment. Odysseus and Telemachus braced themselves, shifting into position as the ground trembled beneath the onslaught. Now, Odysseus commanded, moving like a flash of lightning as he darted towards the beast, striking at its thrashing limbs. Telemachus followed, wielding his spear with precision, determined to avenge their fallen comrades. They fought as one, blending their movements in a dance of defiance against the monstrous force. The creature retaliated, thrashing wildly, yet with each strike, Odysseus felt the weight of the spirit's blessing coursing through him, a surge of strength and clarity. Strike for its heart. He bellowed, dodging a massive, scaled appendage. Telemachus nodded, launching his spear with furious focus, hitting the monster's vulnerable flesh and causing it to roar in agony. But Thalassin was relentless, its fury intensifying as it unleashed a torrent of water, sweeping over the encampment, threatening to drown them. Stay together, Odysseus shouted, gripping Telemachus's shoulder to steady him amidst the chaos. With a fierce roar, Thalassin lunged again, smashing through the defenses they had built, the ground shaking as if the gods themselves were joining the fray. Odysseus pushed forward, fearless, even as destruction surrounded them. Telemachus, he cried, catching sight of his son as he leapt onto a rock for higher ground. Aim for its eye, we end this now. Telemachus nodded, summoning every ounce of courage. With a primal yell, he hurled his spear toward the beast, the weapon sailing through the air like a comet before plunging into one of Thalassin's eyes. The creature thrashed, shrieking in pain, a cacophony that echoed through the island. Now, father, Telemachus shouted, his voice ringing with urgency. Seizing the moment, Odysseus sprinted toward the creature, his sword raised high, channeling the spirit's strength. For Ithaca, for those we have lost, he roared, plunging his blade deep into the gaping wound left by Telemachus's spear. With a final, earth-shattering bellow, Thalassin convulsed, the darkness in its eyes fading as the beast succumbed to its wounds. The ground shook violently, and the waves crashed against the shore, heralding the end of the monstrous reign. But in that moment of triumph, Odysseus felt the ground give way beneath him as the cliffs began to crumble. "Run!" he shouted, grasping Telemachus's arm as they raced toward the safety of the trees. They bolted through the underbrush, the world around them collapsing, and as they reached the shelter of the grove, they turned to watch the Leviathan's death throes. The sea roared in defiance, and the sky crackled with the remnants of divine fury, but they stood unyielding, hearts pounding in their chests. Odysseus fights sea monster but ship damages. Part 4. The echoes of Thalassin's final throes reverberated through the island, a haunting reminder of the battle that had unfolded. As the dust settled and the tumult faded, Odysseus and Telemachus stood at the edge of the grove, breathless and battered, their victory tinged with the bitter taste of loss. "Father," Telemachus said, his voice trembling with a mixture of triumph and sorrow, "we vanquished the beast, but at what cost? The island trembles and the echoes of battle cling to the air like a shroud." Odysseus, heart heavy, placed a reassuring hand upon his son's shoulder. "We are warriors, Telemachus. We fight not only for ourselves, but for the legacy of those who came before us, and for those who will follow. Each victory carries a weight, a reminder that our struggle for honor and home is unending." "Yet the cost feels unbearable," Telemachus replied, his eyes scanning the horizon where the sun dipped into the sea, painting the world in hues of crimson and gold. "What if the gods do not bless our endeavors? What if we are destined to face more wrath? As if summoned by his doubts, dark clouds swirled across the sky, casting an ominous shadow over the island. The winds howled, carrying whispers of divine discord that sent chills down their spines. Odysseus felt the presence of the gods, watchful, unforgiving. He turned his gaze skyward, the ancient weight of fate pressing upon him. "Fear not the whims of the gods, my son. They test us to forge our resolve," Odysseus declared, his voice steady even as uncertainty gnawed at his heart. "The spirits of the fallen have granted us their strength. We will honor them through our actions. We must rally our spirits and prepare for whatever trials await us." Days turned to weeks as they fortified their encampment, but beneath their resolve, tension simmered. The island, once a sanctuary, became a reminder of the lurking dangers of the sea. Each tide brought new whispers, each sunset a reminder of their vulnerability. One fateful night, as a blood-red moon hung low in the sky, a tremor shook the ground. Odysseus and Telemachus were jolted from their rest, weapons drawn as they stepped into the moonlight. "What disturbs the night?" Odysseus murmured, his instincts alert, heart racing. "Something stirs in the deep," Telemachus whispered, eyes wide with fear. "Father, I feel it, a presence." Suddenly the sea erupted, and from the waters rose a figure clad in shimmering light, the great goddess Athena herself, her eyes gleaming with divine wisdom. Odysseus fell to his knees, awestruck. "Mighty Athena, what brings you to our shores?" he implored, his voice reverberating with reverence. "You have proven your valor, Odysseus," she replied, her voice a harmonious blend of strength and grace. "Yet the trials you face are far from over. The blood of Thalasson has summoned the wrath of his kin. A new threat arises from the depths of the sea." "What must we do?" Telemachus asked, stepping forward, his youthful fervor igniting the air. "We will not falter in the face of danger." Athena nodded, her gaze piercing through the trepidation. "You must seek the counsel of the ancient oracle in the heart of the island. She holds the key to understanding your fate and the path you must take. But beware, the journey is fraught with peril and shadows lurk in every corner." With her words etched into their minds, Odysseus and Telemachus set forth at dawn, the path through the island's dense foliage twisting and turning. "Stay vigilant," Odysseus instructed, hand resting upon the hilt of his sword. "The oracle's wisdom may guide us, but it will not come without challenges." As they ventured deeper, the air thickened with an otherworldly tension. The trees whispered secrets, their branches reaching like gnarled fingers. Suddenly, a flicker of movement caught Odysseus's eye, a serpent-like creature coiling gracefully among the underbrush, its scales glimmering like jewels. "Father," Telemachus cried, stepping back cautiously, "what manner of beast is this?" "It is a guardian of the oracle," Odysseus answered, feeling a sense of awe wash over him. "This creature tests our worthiness." He stepped forward, heart pounding, eyes locked with the serpent. "We mean no harm. We seek the oracle's counsel." The serpent coiled tighter, its eyes narrowing. "Mortals tread here with no understanding of the forces that dwell within. Why should I permit your passage? We fight for honor, for home, and to protect those lost to darkness," Odysseus declared, voice resonating with conviction. "But we cannot do it alone. We seek wisdom to guide our path." The serpent regarded them, its gaze assessing. "Bravery does not equate to wisdom. You must prove your worth in trial. Face your fears, and I shall grant you passage." "Name your trial," Telemachus said, voice unwavering, eyes aflame with determination. "Descend into the depths of the earth, where the shadows of your past await. Face what you fear most," the serpent hissed, releasing its grip, revealing a dark crevice in the ground. Odysseus and Telemachus exchanged determined glances, steeling themselves for the descent. "We will face whatever awaits us," Odysseus declared, stepping into the darkness, Telemachus close behind. The cavern swallowed them whole, and as they ventured deeper, the air turned cold, heavy with dread. Shadows danced around them, whispers of the past echoing in their ears. Odysseus felt visions of the fallen flash before him, lost comrades, friends, and family, all entwined in the web of memory. Father, Telemachus gasped, his voice echoing through the darkness. I see their faces. Are they here? They are but echoes, my son, Odysseus replied, fighting against the surge of emotion. We must not relent. Our courage will guide us through this trial. As they pressed onward, a figure emerged from the shadows, Anticlea, Odysseus's beloved mother. Odysseus, my son, she whispered, her voice a haunting melody. You have come far, yet your journey is fraught with despair. Will you abandon your quest? No, Odysseus cried, heart aching. I fight for you, for Ithaca, for our legacy. I cannot turn back now. Anticlea's form flickered, sorrow entwined with pride. Then face your greatest fear, my son, the price of your ambition. Only then can you find the oracle. With a surge of determination, Odysseus pressed forward, heart racing. I embrace my fears. Show me what I must confront. The shadows coalesced into a monstrous form, Thalasson, its eyes burning with rage. The beast lunged at them, monstrous tentacles slicing through the air. You cannot escape your destiny, Odysseus. It roared, a cacophony of wrath echoing within the cavern. Stand firm, Telemachus, Odysseus shouted, drawing his sword. We faced you once and we shall face you again. The battle ignited within the depths. Odysseus swung his blade, striking at the creature, while Telemachus launched his spear with deadly accuracy. Tentacles lashed out, but they fought as one, weaving through the chaos. For Ithaca, they cried in unison, a battle cry echoing through the cavern. With each strike, the shadows around them began to dissolve, revealing the path ahead. Fight, my son, we must prevail, Odysseus urged, determination surging through his veins. Finally, with a desperate cry, Telemachus hurled his spear, piercing Thalasson's heart. The creature let out a primal roar, collapsing into a dark mist, shadows dissipating around them. As the darkness lifted, the cavern transformed, revealing a radiant chamber where the oracle awaited, adorned in shimmering robes, eyes aglow with the light of ancient wisdom. You faced your fears with honor, she proclaimed, voice resonating through the air. Your resolve has proven worthy. Odysseus and Telemachus, panting and battered, stepped forward. We seek guidance, Odysseus said, voice steady. The gods test us and darkness looms. What must we do? The oracle raised a hand, illuminating the chamber with a celestial glow. You cannot fight the tide of fate alone, Odysseus. You must unite the spirits of the fallen with the living. Only then will you possess the strength to face the vengeful forces of the deep. Tell me how, Telemachus urged, voice echoing with urgency. The spirits linger on the threshold between worlds. Conduct a rite at the next full moon where the sea meets the sky. Honor them, and they shall rise to aid you in